It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Dart Talk, another Wednesday, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. A lot to get to this week.
Our theme for the week is stay in your lane.
Well, yeah. It's a famous picture, or it's a famous photo spot, or photo spot, going to Petrified Valley, Petrified Forest, Arizona, I think. And it was the Eagles used it in one of their album covers. Yeah. And, it was a terrible weekend for musicians, right?
Yeah, it was not good.
And actors
and
famous
and a lot of
people and defensive basketball coaches.
Yeah. The Death Happens in Threes was greater than that.
So the villain from Die Hard, and I guess
Alan
Harry
Rickman.
Potter. I don't know anything about Harry Potter.
I don't either.
Alan Rickman, who was like a theater guy. And then David Bowie.
Yeah.
Who, I don't know which David Bowie you listened to growing up. I'm a little older than you.
I wasn't a huge David Bowie fan. I liked his music. I never bought his albums, but if it's on the radio, I would listen to it.
Yeah, I never
wasn't
bought
a
his
huge
albums
fan.
either, but he had some good songs.
Yeah, sure.
And he evolved, which, was one of the knocks on the Eagles. And then Glenn Frey died, who was one of the founders of the Eagles. And the Eagles were part of the soundtrack of my life. I mean, it was the most popular album of the 20th century was their greatest hits album.
Oh,
a lot of people
really?
don't realize that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and then eventually, more people bought Thriller or something. But
yeah,
I listened to their stuff. I had them. Gosh, I had 8-track. I had cassette. I had CDs. And that one hurt. I mean, I can't believe he outlived Joni Mitchell outlived him because she's been sick like her whole life. But that was sad. So I was a big Eagles fan, although I must say the one Dart-related thing was I would go to Dyes for the Friday night draw for years.
right.
And there was this one woman, she's not with us anymore, but she would put on Hotel California like 5 times a night on the jukebox.
During the draw?
Yeah. So, I mean, literally after a couple of years, I kind of got sick of Hotel California. I was like, can you please find something else, So, I don't know. Rest in peace, Glenn Frey. Anyway, so everyone's going to – this is the first time I stopped going to the Vegas Open a couple of years ago. I had philosophical issues with the payouts. Like when you're paying out less than half of the entry fees on a singles event, I think you're ripping off the players. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. But it was always on the weekend between the weekend before the Super Bowl, like the dead week, right?
Yeah.
It's this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, now I'm wishing I went there because the weather's cold and you could bet on football.
Right.
And watch the games on Sunday, right? It's legal.
Well, sure.
So I was kind of like, now I'm jealous of the...
You can still go. It's only Wednesday.
There's no way I'm going to a tournament that has, like, the Cricket Nationals, and I'm not in the Cricket Nationals.
Right.
Why go? I mean, go playing, like, the singles that doesn't pay out enough. I'm not going to do that.
No, for the other reasons that you said. You could bet on football, and then you might as well throw some darts while you're there.
Have you ever been to Vegas on Super Bowl weekend?
Not Super Bowl weekend, no.
I hear it's insane.
Yeah. NCAA first weekend of the NCAA tournament is unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I mean,
and the Derby, I've been there for the Derby. It's pretty crazy, but not for the Super Bowl.
Rather be in Kentucky for the Derby, but you go down for that, don't you?
Not to Kentucky, no. I haven't been there yet.
You haven't been to the Kentucky Derby?
It's my bucket list.
Oh,
no.
I thought you went.
No, I went to the Breeders' Cup in Churchill Downs.
Oh, okay.
But not the Derby.
Or what is it? You go to the Indy 500? You go to some big events.
I used to go to the Indy 500 every year for 12 years, but that hasn't happened for a while.
Well. Anyway,
I've gone to a decent amount of events. They've deteriorated over the years.
The older I get, the less I'm into crowds.
Right.
I can handle the crowds at Wrigley because I kind of know my way around and I kind of have like I deal with it very well.
Yeah.
So like I don't have
you have a routine.
problems.
You know when you're going.
I know where everything is. I you know, all I need now is a menu so I can bring food to the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which reminds me, we got to talk lasagna later.
Okay.
I'm having issues. Let's disclaim.
Didn't we talk about that last week on the ride home?
Yeah. I still have questions.
Okay.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
And we wish you well with that. Okay, so we can preview the Cricket Nationals that are at the Tuscany in Vegas again. 36 guys, 17 women. I don't know if that's, you know.
Seems light.
Seems light. You know, the ADO has kind of like upgraded their website. So I was looking at it a little bit before the show.
36 people for a Cricket Nationals?
Yeah. They need to figure out another system that's going to work better because that's just not enough to claim it's a national
Anything?
thing. Well, I mean, there's things they could do. They could have a qualifier on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then people, if they win, they can get reimbursed their airfare. You know, do something like that. It because geographically we're so challenged. You know, as far as like we could never get like regionals in Chicago. There's not enough players that are interested in playing.
Yeah.
You know, and you need 8 people to pony up like $100 entry fee. Actually, $110. People just aren't. You know,
they're not
the casual players aren't going to do it.
Right.
I mean, I've heard, you know, they have free qualifiers and people don't show up. You know, I mean, not everybody wants to play big time, you know, darts or, you know, whatever.
Right.
You know, people play for different reasons. So, I don't know.
Especially around here, it seems like.
Yeah, it's dead around here. The suburbs, I mean, you know, guys are playing soft tip all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but when it comes to steel, I mean, you know, look at where you play. How'd league go, by the way? Did you play?
Oh, yeah. I actually got a little more practice time in this week than last week, and I started out the gates, played pretty well, won a couple matches, and then, you know, it just completely fell apart in my cricket singles match. I was just all of a sudden.
Who'd you play?
I don't even know.
Okay.
But, yeah, we were at the place you refuse to go to.
Oh, that place?
Yeah. Which, you know, and we were the only league, so it was wide open, and it was all right. But, yeah, you know, same thing we were talking about last week is more of like, you know, stamina. Apparently, I just lost it. I mean, I started out poorly. I came back in the second leg, and I was throwing well, and then about 2/3 of the way through that second leg, I just, like, barfed all over myself and just gave it back to him. I mean, I was up like 3 numbers and just went blah and just.
So what's happening?
Ridiculous.
You know what's happening when you miss? Are you missing to the left, to the right, high, low?
Both.
Oh, really?
Everything. Well, it's the same thing. I needed, you know, I was up 3 numbers. I had 20s open, and I needed 16s to close where he had closed them and could start scoring points on them. And I stop extending my arms so they float. So they either float high or low, and I'm missing 16s. But then I go to 20s for points, and I miss. I would throw to 16 and miss, so I'd go for 20s with my last 2 darts, and one would be in the 1, one would be in the 5. Then he would take the lead, and he would hit like 7 mark on 16, so I would go for 20s, and I would throw 3 straight into the single 5. I mean, just not even close. It was awful. I mean, it was just.
And this is you're not straightening your arm. Is that still
just the follow through is, and I was doing pretty well at the beginning of the day, and I hit a double to win one leg, and I hit a ton 40 at one point. I hit a ton 80 in practice, and it was going well, and then just as the day progressed, the evening I should say progressed, all of a sudden I reverted back to my awful ways, and it was if you would have watched my decline in that one cricket leg, you would have thrown a dart into my skull to end the misery.
Well, I know how you are when you play, and your temperament. I mean, if you're starting to lose your temper and put more pressure on yourself, I mean, it's kind of you're speeding up that downward spiral.
Right. I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, the game between the ears is still,
But I can't take away from the fact, though, I did get a little more board time beforehand, and it worked out. Obviously, as I've said before, I need a lot more board time, but it's proving the fact that, a little more each day helps and helps and helps, and I just don't throw enough, and if I can get myself to do it, I won't have these dramatic downfalls.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're doing to you what they did to me the last time I played League. Like, I played every other match. I played the second match, the fourth match, the sixth match, and then the eighth match was cricket singles. And I would show up maybe 45 minutes early, maybe an hour early, and I would literally 45 straight minutes on the board by myself. 10 double bulls, 25 trip 20s, and one of every double. And then if I had time after that, I'd, try to play a couple of legs. Play some 301 with somebody or something like that. And the reason that I hit one of every double is because I'd start out playing doubles and I had no idea what I'd be left on. So I didn't want to be like, geez, I haven't thrown a double 7 in a week. So, you get that, kind of eliminate that.
I did that yesterday. I didn't have as much time, but I threw at every double. I didn't necessarily obviously hit every one, but I had a chance to at least throw at every double, sometimes a couple of them. If I just missed, or if I was way off, I would throw at it again. If I wired it, I would move on, and at least I threw at every double, which I agree with you totally helped, because when it came,
well, it only helps if you're hitting them though.
Right.
See, if you don't have enough time to hit every double, and sometimes maybe it takes more than a handful.
Yeah.
Then I would recommend doing something like get 2 out of 3 on the 20, the 6, the 3, and the 11.
Okay. Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're calibrating, both axes.
Right.
Right? And then throw a bunch of double bulls. I mean, depending on how much time you have. I mean, are you still playing? See, you're not playing the leadoff 501 anymore.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's so lucky. I hated that. I think
I always liked it, but I was a good 501 player back then. But I don't. But I also used to be able to get there early, and now I'm not able to anymore. So.
League consisted of me hitting doubles in the doubles, but mostly playing cricket. Because you'd play cricket in the format doubles, and then you'd play cricket in the cricket doubles, and then in the choice half the time there'd be cricket, and then I was playing cricket singles. So I would go out on League night and just basically play cricket all night, and I was the best finisher on the team.
It seems like most of the time now that the choice is always either 301 or format. They don't seem to pick cricket anymore.
Very seldom do you see them pick 501.
Yeah, almost never.
Almost never. It's so weird. 301 if you feel you're outmatched. People do that, because it's like anybody can win.
People in the league, I think they pick 301 because they like it, not because they think they're outmatched, which it just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of depends. If you're playing nickel and you're playing with the kind of recreational players, I mean, they all end up with their own little way of thinking.
Right.
It's kind of a strange. strange deal.
Yeah,
Where
but
are we on
never
time? We're
501.
kind of babbling on here.
Oh, we got a couple minutes.
Couple of minutes.
What else are we going to cover before this break?
Well, we can preview the Cricket Nationals. There's 36 guys, 17 women. Again, you don't really know who their round robin groups are going to be, so you don't know who's getting out of the round robin.
Right.
So it makes it kind of hard to preview. But we could talk about some of the people. There's some people that aren't playing that I don't understand how you can have a championship when your best players aren't playing. What are you winning? You know what I mean? So we'll go through the list, and you can tell me who's missing, because there's quite a few names that you would expect to see there that aren't there, and a couple of surprises. I saw Fathom on the list, and I was kind of surprised because he was in England last weekend, so he ought to be playing good. I would think that the best warm up for playing that is, go play in England.
Yeah.
Right. So we preview that. We can go through the Q School. There's some interesting names that made it, some interesting names that didn't make it, that I kind of found surprising.
And a lot of names involved.
Yeah, a lot of names involved. And then we have to talk about the most outstanding performance of the year which ended with Lakeside.
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see how much time we have. We can talk about it. I've got a few nominations, and then we'll see if anybody emails us something better. And then we could decide it next week, maybe.
Okay.
We'll see how much time we have. I pretty much know in my mind you're going to have to get me off of it, because there's no way on earth. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that Jeff Smith making the final at Lakeside isn't the biggest achievement by North American darts this year. I mean, there's other ones that, were good.
Close.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that after the break. We'll be back in a sec. You're listening to Dart Talk. Mystery Mark, Steve. People, right back.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Hey, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official console distributor. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget, we have a website, darttalk.us. You can find us on Stitcher.com, on TuneIn.com, on iTunes, on Twitter. We have a YouTube channel, Dart Talk US. Check it all out and be Dart Talking.
Ooh.
Before
Bumper sticker.
get Dart Talking.
No, be dart talking.
Be Dart Talking.
All right.
The We got an interesting email. I don't know if we should talk about this now. I guess may as well.
Well, you already started, so.
Well, I mentioned it, in the pre-show fist fight, which was awfully quiet this week.
Yes. We were watching the Bulls get the snot beat out of them.
And
First half.
It was a slobber knocker kind of a game. I mean, they were bad. I don't like the way they play anymore. We got I can't remember now if it was on Twitter or an email. Somebody from the UK, I think, sent us, and he's quoting Chris Mason. For people that don't know, Chris Mason was on the playing on the PDC for years. He was nice gent. He would come to Chicago, and when the Windy City Open was a PDC ranking tournament, so I saw him there a few times, talked to him a little bit. Nice guy. He does commentary on the BBC on some of the darts, or on ITV or something like that. I can't keep the channels straight because we don't get them here, so I don't know. But he, what our listeners said was that Chris Mason is saying that the unicorn boards that the PDC plays on, the trebles are 9% bigger than the Winmar boards that the BDO's using.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you've played on these unicorn boards, like the Eclipse and stuff.
I don't know if I have either.
The wires are really, really small.
9%
made it sound to me as if he was trying to argue that, comparing the averages between the PDC and the BDO, because the BDO is on a smaller target, then they'd be playing the same. They'd be getting having the same scores as the PDC guys, which I don't buy at all.
Okay, but are the doubles the same size?
Well,
because one of the biggest, marks per round is hitting your doubles, and if the triples are bigger but the doubles aren't, and they're still missing their doubles,
if that was
brings
true,
your averages down.
Well, if that was true, then Stephen Bunting, when he came over from the BDO, should have like a 10% bump in his normal score, which would put him at like 110.
Yeah.
So these BDO guys that come over and their average doesn't go up, how do you explain that? If their average goes down?
Because the doubles are smaller. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't know. That doesn't make sense. If their averages go down, right? I
don't know what to make of it. I mean,
but he was. But there wasn't. He didn't have a point like he was saying that. That's just what.
Well,
the concept sounds like. Why even bring it up?
I don't know. And
if he didn't have a point.
I see some of his stuff on Twitter. I haven't really been on Twitter
More like
much in the last week,
according to Dart 701 in our chat room.
Oh, 12%. Right. So, do you buy that? If it's true, shouldn't your average be like jump 10% when you go play on the other board?
Or
because I don't
5%,
see it jump. Well, 5%. I don't see it. But I don't see any of it jumping.
Mm-hmm.
Is Stephen Bunting's average better now on the bigger board supposedly than it was when he was playing on the Winmar BDO boards? No, it isn't. It's lower probably. Because you're under pressure now because you're playing the best players in the world.
Right.
Kind of what I'm thinking, but I just kind of saw that and I was like, I don't know about that.
No, I would have a tendency to agree with you. I mean, you would have to compare.
It doesn't make any sense.
You would have to compare a person's BDO average
and
to when they move.
Well, and where's the extra percent would be above and below, right?
Yes.
Because the segments can't be a different size.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right? So now you're saying that the top and bottom are bigger.
Or just the top. Is it just the top?
Well,
could be is it 9%, 4.5% each way, or is it only the top half? So
I don't know where he's coming up with this, but it seems to me that there's been it's not quite like urban legend, but for a while people were saying that the PDC, and this is what happens when you go on Twitter, that the PDC was putting magnets behind the triple 20 to help people hit more ton 80s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there's always a conspiracy out there for everything.
I know, but I'm just sort of like, kind of, give me a break, right? You choked, you missed the double. What are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I just, you know what I mean? But I don't know. If it's true, then I don't understand, why the PDC,
why
the
these
BDO guys that come over
and just
aren't
start
smoking everybody.
beating? Yeah, it'd be like practicing on a master's board and then going over to a regular board and being able to dominate.
Doesn't really appear to be the case.
Yeah.
So,
because really, literally, you would think.
I think this is a parochial
if
argument.
It was a little bigger, you would think that. I mean, if you were standing on the Aki throwing at the BDO boards, and all of a sudden you got a chance to stand on the Aki, you would actually see a bigger triple 20. And just you because sometimes you just go around from bar to bar, and the wires are moved, and there's literally a double 10's bigger at one bar than at another one, and you just see it, and you're just like, well, I can't miss that.
I knew guys that when I first started playing, there were staples.
Oh yeah,
and guys that have been playing, for decades on those boards would try to hit the top of the bottom wire of the trip 20 to get it to move so that it made it bigger.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And guys, would try to do that.
Bend it up, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they'd bend it down, right? You hit the top of the
bottom
wire
right.
to get it to move down, and then now the triple's bigger.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that happen, and I'd be like, wow, it sucks to be me. I mean, I try to hit it in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, it's funny. The Masters boards, the first board I ever bought was a Masters board. It had a regular-sized bullseye. And that's how I ended up learning to hit double bulls on my finishes, because the doubles were so small. It'd be like if I was on 82 or something, I'd use the bull every chance I got because it was the only thing that was a normal size.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ones they make, the bullseye's even smaller.
Okay.
I mean, it's a pinhole. And I'm like, I need to get one of those boards. I think, I went back and forth on the value of... See, for some players, I'm not sure that a Masters board's really going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless you're relatively accurate where you're close to everything you're hitting, it's too frustrating to miss all day long.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah.
I remember,
if you miss by an inch, it doesn't matter whether the triple's a little smaller.
Right, but the ton 80s on a practice board look awesome.
Yeah.
They just look awesome.
Right.
And you want to, call somebody up and say, hey, I got another one. You know what I mean? I don't know. We're digressing. So as far as the board thing goes, I don't know. Okay, so the ADO Cricket Championship is this weekend. Let me run the women down first because there's only 17. And you'll recognize some of the names, and give me your favorite that isn't named Paula Murphy.
Okay.
Okay. You got Lisa Ayres, Karen Clancy, Betty Cunningham, Deborah Drager, Kay Hoover, Sandy Hudson, Debbie Ivy, Carrie Keyes, Jennifer Lysak, Morgan McCormick, Paula Murphy, Brenda Rausch, Nicole Rowell, Julie Shepley, Dorothy Spencer, Corinne Stockton, and Caroline Williams.
Well, I mean, the thing is we haven't been doing a lot of results. In our shows lately, we haven't. We haven't heard a lot.
Done many.
We haven't heard a lot of these people's names. I don't know. Is Morgan McCormick, still playing well? And
well, it's a new year.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody kind of had December
Betty
off.
Cunningham and. But yeah, I mean, I would lean towards
Take
McCormick.
Two.
McCormick and I would go Sandy Hudson.
Okay, so it's pretty much chalk.
I consider.
I'll take B&B. I'll take Betty Cunningham and Brenda Rausch.
Okay.
We'll see what happens. I don't see the Whisper twins in there.
No.
I heard they were going. I don't know what that's all about. Okay, here's the men. Let me run this down real quick. Bill Anderson Jr., Jason Brandon, Jason Wright, Wade Bro, Joe Cheney, Steve Chorba, Cody Darrington, Rob Dixon, Clay Elledge, David Fathom, John Foreman, Terry Gutrellis, Joe Huffman, Patrick Kithy. Haven't heard that name in a while. Remember, he was on the show once.
Yeah.
Nick Lindberg, Chris Linkus, Charlie Mathis, Mark Mears, Dan Moore, Ryan Morey, Dan Naylor, Tim Nickel, Stan Perry, Robbie Phillips, Levi Remick, Alex Reyes, Chris Sams, Tom Sawyer, Travis Stacey, Trent Sumner, Ken Weaver, Phil Wheeler, Jim Widmer, John Yinger, and Javier Zamparipa. Did I leave anyone out? Pretty sure I did.
Yeah, actually, you did. You missed out Larry. You skipped Larry Butler somehow.
Oh, okay.
You
So there's
struggled.
36
You
men.
struggled with Wade Burrow, and then you.
Oh, is that
skipped-
what threw me off?
Yeah, you
okay.
skipped Larry Butler.
So here's who I don't see. I don't see Leonard Gates.
No.
I don't see Darren Young. I don't see Chris White. I don't see Scott Wollaston. I don't see who else isn't there? Tom Sawyer's there. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see Dan Naylor. I don't see Joe After.
Dan Naylor's there.
Is Dan Naylor there?
Yeah, above Tim Nickel.
Okay. I just seems like there's a lot of guys not
Right.
playing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see DJ Sayer. I don't see Gordon Dixon.
Right.
I don't see a lot of guys. I don't see Mark Fair. I don't see Gumby. I don't see. There's a lot of guys I don't see here. It's kind of strange. Okay, but anyway, of the people that are there, who do you like? Take two.
I will take Tom Sawyer. I would take David Fadden because of what you just said, but I'll let you keep him.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to take them. I've got two kind of
And
under the
gonna
radar
take,
guys here.
Timmy Nickel.
Timmy Nickel. Okay, I'm going to take Trent Sumner,
Okay.
who he's a Southern guy that's been playing really well the last 6 months or so, and Patrick Kithy.
Okay. Kitty. Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. I mean, there's some good players there. I mean,
There's a lot of good players there, sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's only a couple of names that I don't really recognize. But there's a lot of guys that have a shot at winning this. It kind of depends on, you know, if you put like 5 of the top guys in one round robin group or something, that's going to open up
Sure.
for everybody else.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they don't seed this thing. I gave up asking.
Right.
You know, but they there was a letter from the ADO. It's on their website, which does look better. Kind of about how they're transitioning or something, and they have a new CFO.
Mm-hmm.
And so it'll be interesting to see if they can, I don't want to say turn the corner. It's kind of weird. I mean, bureaucracies are like battleships or aircraft carriers. I mean, when they want to turn around,
It takes a long time.
you know, they don't just
Can't just
turn
turn on
around.
a dime.
No. You know, it takes a while, and, you know, they don't have brakes or anything. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish I was going. It's so cold lately.
Well, yeah.
It was like, I went out the other day. I couldn't believe how cold it was.
Should have been in Iowa. Whew.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. It was like 8 below.
Oh, were you in Iowa?
Yeah.
Oh.
Saturday night, or Sunday and Monday.
How's Iowa these days, aside from being
cold.
really cold?
It's Iowa.
This is Ames, mister.
Yeah. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa.
Oh, God. Okay. We'll take a break. We're going to come back. We'll go over the Q School results, see if there's anything in there worth our attention, and then we'll move on.
All right.
You listen to Dart Talk Mystery Mark Steve P. We'll be right back.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
Hey, back for the second half of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official console distributor. We got kind of lost in the chat there. What are they arguing about? 0.7 millimeters?
Yeah.
How wide is a tip?
Well, that was how wide is a dart point, and I don't know if anybody came up with the exact answer to that, but
Well, there's a
they're
couple of
basically
people
arguing
going
about
at it
whether
there. There was some interesting stuff in there about how, if Gert de Vos had taken out the 145, he'd have beat Taylor's record.
0.7 millimeters won't help the average bloke, but might just maybe help a seasoned pro.
How many of these darts are on the wire?
0.7 millimeters.
I just can't. I'm not going to address it. I'll stand by everything I said. Just my opinion.
Right.
When the BDO guys come and start throwing 115 averages, then you'll make a believer out of me. I don't see that happening. Stephen Bunting's been on the PDC now 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see what happens.
I mean, if that's the case, why wouldn't the BDO go to those boards?
Why wouldn't those guys be running over to the PDC to play on the
why wouldn't
big
the BDO
segment
go to
boards
those
with all the
boards
money?
and bring them over and say, okay, now you guys can,
Well, they have a deal with Winmau.
Well,
I mean, that's a business thing. They've been with Winmau forever. And from what I hear, those dual core boards are really nice. I don't think I've seen any here. I'm sure they have them somewhere, but I don't know if you can get them on Amazon or whatever.
Right.
Buying dartboards on Amazon, if you have Prime, it's free shipping.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were we supposed to talk about? Q School?
That could be next on the list, yeah.
Is the Deadwood. Do you remember Chip Beck?
The golfer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chip Beck had a chance to win the Masters, but he laid up on 15 instead of going for it, and ended up finishing, I don't know, second, third, or fourth. And the next thing I knew, his house was for sale, and he was a club pro. I mean, his game just fell apart. I don't know if it had to do with the criticism he was suffering, or it was just sort of like he was going to be at the end of his career anyway, or whatever. He wasn't a long hitter, and the game became kind of morphed.
Yeah.
When they would start tiger-proofing courses and making them longer and longer, they killed people like Corey Pavin
Sure.
and Chip Beck. So Mark Dudbridge is the new Chip Beck, right? I'm looking through the results here. Dudbridge not only didn't get his tour card, but he only won like 2 matches in 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the vast majority of people, I would say almost half the field, didn't win a match. They're all out, the first round they played.
Right.
I've never really seen anything like that. But, I'm looking at who got through. John Bowles, remember, we liked him a couple of years ago. We liked his approach. He did good in the Worlds a couple of years ago.
Okay.
You don't remember that?
Oh.
We've done so many shows. We've seen James Richardson play well before, so that wasn't a surprise. But the guys that got through on the Order of Merit, Mark Walsh, Matt Clark, Dennis Smith, Mick McGowan, kind of familiar names that are, have fallen pretty far since, 10 years ago when I first started playing. Colin Lloyd quit. When I started playing, Colin Lloyd was number 1 on the Order of Merit.
Oh, really?
At least for a while. Everybody figured Phil Taylor was the best, but I think, Lloyd was grinding it out and going every single tournament and ended up, number 1 for a while. He announced he's not going to play competitive darts anymore. Maybe next year.
Right. Wow.
That's how far his game has fallen. And that was really, I found, to be kind of sad. You look at guys like Barry Bates. Barry Bates has health problems, right? So, his game slipping, I kind of understand. But look how far some of these guys have fallen. And look at the young guys that are coming up and taking their
generally
spot.
Happens.
But it didn't happen like 10 years ago. It was all the same guys. It was almost like a club. and now there's all this new blood coming in. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
As far as like driving the game forward and raising the overall level of play for your sport. I think it's pretty cool.
Right.
Like some of the guys that played really well in the World Championships, they couldn't sustain it match to match, but they had some phenomenal performances. So I kind of found that interesting. Guys that didn't make it, that came close, Joey Tenberg, missed it by 2 matches. Kirk Shepard. Here's a guy that did he make the final of the World Championship like 3 or 4 years ago?
Okay.
He had a magic potion where he would play somebody and they would miss the double to beat him.
Really?
Yeah, everybody.
He had
that going for like 2 weeks. And now he can't get a tour card.
Steve Brown.
Yeah, Steve Brown. Joey Palfreyman didn't make it. David Fathom was there. He won like 1 match a day, but couldn't get out of like the top 128, I think. It was nice to see somebody trying. Antonio Alcinas, and I think there's another Spaniard that those guys were doing really, really well.
Thean Walt.
Yeah, but look,
Wantum Wong.
But he was beating people 5-0. So I don't know if there were some guys there that didn't really belong, or I don't know what to make of the guy.
Right.
I call him MSG.
Okay.
Because the guy, he needs anybody with a name longer than mine needs a nickname.
Yeah.
Especially with all those syllables. So, because somebody tweeted that he was the MVG of Thailand, and I'm like, how about MSG?
Okay.
So
Nice.
he's MSG.
All right.
So we should like adopt him, as like
MSG.
one of our guys
Yeah.
on the show. How did MSG do this week? Do little MSG updates. Mark Hilton didn't make it. Some of the Japanese guys that didn't make it, I don't know why they're even trying, because they're not going to come over and play and everything. So I'm not really sure, like with the tour card, what they're doing with that. Who was the guy that Royden Lamb got a tour card, and I don't think he played in anything.
Right.
So why'd you even bother taking a spot? So I don't know. They should have some sort of rule that if you don't play a minimum number of events, you lose your. Marino Michaels didn't make it. You lose your tour card.
Right.
Because there's plenty of people that want to play. I don't think they have any problem filling out their field, but it seems like a general principle.
Barney's happy that Jeffrey DeGraff got his card.
Yeah, I saw that. Good for him. I'm looking to see. Yeah, I think that was about it.
And then after that, now you're at the list of.
Look at all the people that won.
Came close.
There was like 60 people that won 1 match.
Mm-hmm. And then there's.
And then I didn't even count. Like,
the zeros.
Well, here, actually, it's 50. 69 people didn't win a match.
Mm-hmm.
And then 60-some people won 1. That's 120 people.
Out of what, 300?
I think it was closer to 400.
400?
But that's still almost half the field.
Yeah, right.
Or a third of the field barely won a match. So I think is a little top-heavy. And then, philosophically, where are we on time? Philosophically, we should take a break and come back and then talk about what's harder. Like to play like a top 32 or a top 64 field of really good players, or to have to go through 400 that are kind of like, some are good, some are bad.
Right.
What's harder to do? We need to talk about that.
Okay.
And get your opinion on that. I will be back in a minute. Last break. It'll be short. You're listening to Dart Talk. We'll be right back.
forevermore warn that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Okay, most outstanding performance by a North American dart player.
Mm-hmm.
When are the Oscars? Aren't they coming up?
No, they're not
changed,
till like the first week of March, I think.
They didn't move it to February?
I don't.
It used to be that they would have it like the day before the NCAA final. Right? The final would be on Monday. They'd have the Oscars on
that's
Sunday
the first
night.
week of April.
Yeah. That's when they used to do it.
Okay.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
I always thought it was first week of March, but obviously.
Yeah,
the
well, they moved it a
nominations
few years
just
ago.
came out.
I kind of, love of my life isn't too interested in award shows. So I, for years it was Oscar parties and Oscar pools, and now I don't even watch the things. That's kind of sad.
I never really got into them.
Well, we saw the Best Picture together last year. Saw Birdman.
Yeah.
Couldn't believe that movie won. What did we see? What was the thing we saw with the bank thing?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The Big Short.
The Big Short.
The Big Short.
It's good.
It's getting good.
Very
the
good.
Revenant's getting.
Revenant.
Apparently, Leonardo DiCaprio is like a huge favorite.
The Revenant's really good.
Okay.
It's not. I
And-
don't think it's great, but I think it's really good.
Well, apparently Leonardo's gonna.
Yeah.
He's gonna get his Oscar.
Yeah, it looks that way.
So
And he only had like 2 lines the whole movie.
this is an interesting and a very tough call. So
Oscars the last week of February for a long time.
yeah, what's a long time?
Well,
Like 5 years.
yeah. I was close first week of March. Last
Chat
week of
room's
February.
pretty lively tonight. God. Okay, so you had Darren Young beat a really good field to qualify for the PDC championship.
Mhm.
You had your buddy made the final of the Winmau Masters,
Mhm.
and Jeff Smith made the final of the Lakeside.
Right.
Aside from those three, I'm not sure that anything else really matches those achievements as far as like what we're going to pick as the most outstanding achievement. People can email other things to us at darttalk@gmail.com, and we'll certainly consider them. In comparing these things, though, it struck me as being kind of funny. Like, let's put the Darrens aside for now and just compare the Winmau Masters to Lakeside.
Okay.
Okay. Lakeside pays more, but it has a smaller field,
Mhm.
right? So this is what I was getting at. If you're in a draw of 512, you have to win, let's see, 512, 256, 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4. You have to win 9 matches to win the whole thing. That's 9 opportunities to throw up all over yourself.
Right.
Right? With Lakeside, if you're in the top 32, then you got 32, 16, 8, 4. You only have to win 5 matches. However,
Well, sure.
the 5 matches are all against top players. In a big field, like in the Q School, right? Where you're just, it's a race to 5 and you're playing guys that apparently haven't won all weekend, and then so you beat one of those guys, okay.
Right.
I mean, if you're in a field like that where you have 3 warm-up matches of people that are really no threat, is that somehow making a final where you won 8 matches against inferior competition more than winning 4 matches against top competition? Because when you're in the big field, eventually,
I wouldn't go that. I think making a final is making a final, because once you weed out all those people that most of them aren't going to get to the quarterfinals, then you're starting at that point where all your matches really mean something. It's like the U.S. Open in tennis, for the most part.
In the first round.
Yeah.
Because it's seeded.
Right.
It's not like Djokovic and Federer are going to meet in the first round.
I mean, if they don't make the quarterfinals, they're upset, right? But really, their tournament starts. And now, granted, yes, every now and then one of them loses and doesn't make it that far, and they're not happy with themselves. But really, I don't know if you took a tournament like that and just piled the top 32 people in it and said, okay, you're automatically one win away from the quarterfinals. Or the Sweet 16.
Right.
Does it make any difference? Well, no, not really, because those are warm-up matches you should win, but when you really get to it, you've narrowed the field down to most likely the best competition.
Okay, so
I
which
don't think
is
it makes
more?
a difference.
You don't think it makes a difference?
I don't think it.
See, it's
either
gotta
have to start playing well, or you get a few matches to. Now, granted, Rafael Nadal just did lose in the first round
of the Australian Open.
Did
he really?
A number 5 seed, but he lost to Verdasco, who
he's a good player, but I don't think Rafi's healthy.
No.
You see Djokovic with the match fixing?
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, so I personally don't think it matters. I can't say one's better or worse, because I think, once it's worse if you don't make it from a big field like that, because, then you got upset by a lesser player. But once you weed it down to the best 64 players, whichever way, whether you start with 64 or you start with 128 or 502, most likely you're weeding it down to the best 64. So at that point, it's just as tough.
Okay.
I mean, get a few extra matches under your belt.
It's kind of hard to. I mean, that was James Wade's thing with the World Championship. He's like, we should just have the top 32 play. Why are we playing all these other matches? Well, I mean, how many seeds got upset early? I mean, it's quite a few this year.
But I think that's the point, because you have to give people the opportunity to play and improve. So that's why you have to play those matches. If you're that good, you keep beating them, and you have to be not necessarily on top of your game, but you can't sleepwalk through the whole thing, because somebody could come up and bite you.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a weird.
But you don't have to play.
I mean, well,
semifinals darts competition. But if you play, your worst game ever, you could lose.
I mean, the argument that shorter matches are harder to win, like it's harder to win a best of 3 than it is to win a best of 5, than it is to win a best of 7.
Sure.
You buy that?
Yes. I do agree with that.
Because
I think the better dart player is going to show up in a longer format.
Yeah, the longer you play, the more likely it is that the stronger player will win.
Right.
But then again, it's a test to see who's the best player. It isn't. You're not designing a competition where people can get lucky, right? So if you look at any major sport, I mean, they don't have 3-inning baseball games.
No, right.
You know what I mean? The games are 9 innings. I mean, the average NBA game, the average Major League Baseball, whatever, football, hockey. I mean, it's a couple of hours minimum, right? Even if Maddox is pitching.
But are you talking about the length of field, or?
No, I'm talking about the length of a match.
Now you're right.
So, I mean, the way floor play is in America with all this like best of 3, best of 3, best of 3 is kind of silly.
Sure.
Right? So you're going best of 5. Okay, well, it's a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it's only one extra leg. Right? If somebody's overmatched, then they're going to lose 3-0 compared to 2-0. I mean, I think best of 7 minimum, I would think, for a tournament, if you're traveling to it.
Right.
I would think you need at least best of 7. So at least you had some opportunities. And alternate start.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The whole, the 80 diddle every leg thing is I'm so you can.
How many times have we talked about that?
Well, we haven't talked about it lately because we kind of got off of all the recreational dart tournaments, and we're just kind of focusing on the bigger stuff, right?
Why do you think? Do you think it's
I'm
tougher
trying to figure out. Well, I'm trying to figure
start
out,
just a 64-man field of top competition.
is that harder to win than a field of 512 where you have the top 64 plus all these other guys?
Right. I don't think
Right.
either one. I don't think it makes a difference.
You don't think it makes a difference?
I think you still get to the top 64, and it's just as hard to win if you started.
Is it more of an achievement than you just look at the money, like who won the most money? Right. I mean, because I think Jeff Smith got 72,000 Canadian for second place. I don't know what Darren got for winning the PDC, but it sure wasn't that much.
I don't know. See, I don't know if it's about money either. If you look at golf and you get X amount of dollars for winning a major tournament, Augusta pays one of the most things. But if you play in the Tournament of Champions, which is just the amount, what the 40 people that have won,
right,
that have won a tournament that year, and you win that, you don't win as much money as winning the Masters, but you won against everybody that won a golf tournament that year.
Well, golf is different, though, because that's not a good comparison because you're playing the entire field. In knockout like tennis or darts, you may have the 64 best players, but you don't have to play them all. You only got to play 5 of them. Right? So, I mean, I'm looking at Darren winning the PDC thing as being like, well, that field's probably tougher than Lakeside.
Okay.
People maybe don't think so.
Sure.
But I think it probably is. So is winning that a bigger achievement than being a runner-up at a tournament in England, like the Winmau Masters and Lakeside? I mean, Lakeside used to be the be-all and end-all. I think it has more prestige than the Winmau Masters.
Yeah, you have to take into account of
pays
travel
more money,
and being away from home, and
Yeah, Canada's closer.
Right.
We could have a Canadian president by this time next year. I mean, I don't know. You have no conclusion. You're not helping me much here.
No, I don't. I think
we had a formula for assessing strength
I think
of
the
field.
accomplishment is just the same to me, whether it's 502, because it's not.
Well, then
the 64 is 64. You're weeding it out into the best players.
Well, see, the thing about the field of 512 is it's not the 512 best players in the world, right? It's the 512 people that signed up, and it's a lot of county players and all this that are still good players, but they're not going to be throwing 100 averages at you, right? If you look at, I was looking at Jeff Smith's performance like match to match to match to match, and he's averaging 90, which apparently on those boards is the equivalent of averaging 100. Is what they're arguing in the chat room. Okay. That's remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing that impressed me the most about Jeff's thing. And, him getting through the semi in the fashion he did was what he threw like a 10-darter?
Right.
To nail it.
When the guy was on a 12-darter?
Yeah, that's like a dream leg.
Yeah.
Well, he missed his 12-darter.
Right.
Yeah, he missed his 12-darter, but he's, the old rule is, you need a 12-darter to break. Well, he did it in 10. And that's damned impressive. After playing how many sets where they swap back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I mean, that's the kind of match I look at as being like big-time darts.
Yeah. Well, I like them both. I think there's always that pressure of being North American and trying to be the first person, or when's the last time anybody's done it, and it's been years and years and years, and so it
was a different game, like 94 or something. I mean, the game's changed a lot,
right? So I think there's I'm not saying he thinks there's added pressure on him or he doesn't feel it, but there's that extra, people are rooting for you, and there's a little extra pressure involved, and you're.
Well, yeah. As far as Jeff's concerned, I mean, he never mentioned anything. We'll try to get him on the show next week. He never mentioned anything like they were giving him a hard time because he was Canadian.
Right.
I think.
But
he's been around. I mean, people know him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like his first time.
But I think I think he's inundated with tweets and Facebook posts saying keep going, blah blah blah, and if you keep reading them, you just realize there's more and more people rooting for you the further you get along, and because you're accomplishing something that somebody hasn't done in a long, long time.
Yeah, it was funny. Van Barneveld was saying, like, he swore off social media for the tournament. He's like, I can't
do it.
I just think that's kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that people support him. I mean, some of the negative stuff you see on there, I guess, got to take the good with the bad. It's mostly good,
right.
At least as far as the players are concerned. I don't,
yeah.
In the forums, people getting ripped and everything. No. I mean, that's the nature of fans.
Oh, sure.
Right? I mean,
right.
and that's the thing that you need in America. You need fans. And how do you generate fans of darts?
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody posting something, how do you grow the sport? You need fans. How do you get fans? I don't know. You need Happy Gilmore.
Right.
Right? Darts needs a Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
They need, characters like that appeal to people and show them
some
that
people hate, some
this
people
game
love
this
it.
game can
Right.
be a lot of fun.
Right.
Right? And everybody should enjoy it. I mean, we started the show partly hoping that we would turn more people on to darts, and
mm-hmm.
especially, to take it seriously. And I don't know that we're so hardcore, but, we were for a while. So I don't know. It's weird. So we'll try to get Jeff Smith on next week. Are we over? I think we are.
We're right at the cusp.
But you're going to have to, we're going to have to figure out, what's more impressive. See, it seems to me that a field of 512, and we'll have to, wrap it up on this, where you have so many opportunities to lose,
mm-hmm.
right? You're talking about those like WGC fields where it's only the top 64 and stuff like
right.
that. I mean, in golf, that's like, you don't have to beat as many people, but I mean, is the 120th guy that much of a threat?
No, he shouldn't be. I would.
Right.
That's why I would flip it.
What if he gets hot?
I would flip it. It's more. It's worse of a loss to lose in that field than it is in not making it to the top 64 than it is losing in the first round of the top 64.
Well, yeah,
okay.
Okay. Losing in the round of 512 is worse than losing in the top 64. But if you play a top 64 player in the round of 512, what's the difference? You know what I mean?
Well, how often are you going to play a top 64 player in the round of 512?
Well, I don't know what the odds are on that. I'd have to do the math. But, there's 64 players, and you're going to run into them somewhere.
Yeah.
You're going to run into one of the top 60. It's likely if you're not seeded, you're going to run into a seeded player before the round of 64.
Sure. Oh, for
right?
Sure. Yeah. Right.
And there's 32 seeds. You're going to run into one somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Odds are it's likely you're going to run into them before the round of 32.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't what him Jeff making the final of Lakeside I thought was damned impressive. I thought Darren winning the PDC thing was that was kind of my favorite. I thought that's a tougher field than the Winmaw Masters. That's the tournament where you qualify by showing up every week.
Yeah.
Like if you have
right.
perfect attendance at your league matches, you qualify for the Winmaw Masters.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's the perfect attendance open, that doesn't impress me much.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but we could talk about it, and we'll try to get an answer next week. If people have other suggestions aside from these three, email them to darttalk@gmail.com. I don't know what's wrong with Facebook. I mean, Facebook has changed so much. It's like I can't even figure out how to put links to the show up there anymore. It's so strange. That's why I like Twitter better. So we're on Twitter at Dart Talk, you guys. I don't tweet much, but I tweet interesting things if I see them. You got anything? Going back to Iowa this week?
No.
You gonna watch football?
I will watch football.
All right, let's have your picks. Okay, the Mid-Atlantic Forest Cats are playing...
The Mid-Atlantic Forest
The Mid-Atlantic
Cats?
Forest Cats. I renamed all the football teams. The
Mid-Atlantic Forest
Cats
okay.
are playing the Desert Red.
Okay.
Who you like?
I like the Mid-Atlantic Forest Cats.
You like the Mid-Atlantic Forest Cats.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the other one is the
I think they're playing the best right now out of anybody.
is it the Mile High Equines?
Yeah.
The Mile High Equines are playing the Yankee Bastions. Who you like there?
I'm probably going to be wrong about this. Initially, I liked the Yankee Bastions, but they just lost Mayonnaise to an injury, which could hurt their defense. And
Mayonnaise?
Mayonnaise.
Mayo?
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo's out?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. He got hurt in the last game. And so the Equines, the Mile High Equines, with their defense at home, as bad as their aging quarterback seems to be every week.
Danger, Will Robinson.
I'm going
to watch that game. I don't know who's going to win.
I think I'm just going to go with home field advantage on that particular game, even though I think.
What's the line?
I don't know. I haven't looked yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with both home teams. I just think what did you say? The
Yankee Bastions?
No,
or the Mile High Equines?
No.
The Desert Red?
Okay, one more.
The Mid-Atlantic Forest Cats.
Forest Cats. I think they're at home, and they are playing the best football out of anybody right now, and I think right now they are my favorite.
I think when Honey Badger got hurt, I think that hurt Arizona.
It did, unfortunately.
That's going to be a fun game to watch. I don't know if that's going to be high scoring or not. And I'm curious what the weather's going to be. It was kind of messy.
Yeah. Well, it was messy before the game last week, and then all of a sudden it just
but the field was still guys
Yeah.
were slipping and stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of see
But-
and then I don't know, is it going to snow?
It
The
might.
Mile High
It
City.
might,
I
yeah.
mean, I think the Yankee Bastions find a way to win that game.
I would
They
not be
kind
surprised.
of always do.
I would not be surprised because the quarterback for the Equines, if it is cold, I mean,
He's
he might
an old
just,
nag.
He might
that guy. He might
freeze.
just literally Statue of Liberty.
Right.
They may have to
He
literally
might.
pry
They
the ball
have
out
to
of his
grab the
hands.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true.
I don't know.
But-
Mayo's out, huh?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I think their defense at home and that happening gives them a chance.
I just.
And how in the world is Chandler Jones still playing?
I don't know.
How is this guy
you show
not
up
suspended yet?
shirtless at a police station saying that you're ODing on synthetic marijuana.
Yeah, and how is he still playing?
I don't know because it's not illegal. Right? It's too new to have it on the list. So like as far as collective bargaining goes and the drug testing, it's not something they test for.
Okay.
So what did he violate?
Yeah, and he didn't
If you
get
invent
arrested.
a drug
he
tomorrow,
he didn't get arrested, so
Yeah.
he didn't.
what did they arrest him for?
Right. No, so he didn't.
They had to talk him down. It was like a bad trip, right? It's always something. See, I think the NFL is on its way out. I really do. I think you're going to see in the next 15 years more and more people turning to baseball because football is nothing but, guys that are going to end up like Lawrence Phillips. It's all the CTE.
They still have the allure of only 8 games a year at home.
Yeah.
16 games total. Baseball's 162 games. They still have that 3-month.
Yeah.
I can't wait for it, and I don't know if that's ever going to go away.
Well, they're going to have to slow the game down if they're going to keep the players healthy.
I totally agree with you on
and
that.
if you were an athlete and you were like 16, 17, why on earth would you play football?
I have no idea.
All you got to do is say 2 words to a guy. You say Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson cost himself, I don't know, $150 million by playing football.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to play football. But, play tag on the beach with your friends and then go make how much money are these guys making in baseball?
Right.
You're a 38-year-old starting pitcher, and for 2 years you get how much? $32 million?
Yeah.
Right.
You're
a guy who can't drive in a run.
Hey,
Here's $5.5 million.
You're Jeff Samardzija. Did he not make the right call? I mean, he was.
I don't know what they offered him. They offered him $75.
He was a decent college football player, though. He could have gone pro.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay,
And-
so instead of Bo Jackson, now it's Jeff Samardzija. Yeah.
Look at what this guy got.
I mean, you'd be nuts to play football
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to any other sport And I know some guys say it's like their only way out of the ghetto or something. Hey, telling me you can't hit a curve?
Well, no, they can't.
Well, did they try?
Well,
how hard did they try?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't mind if the Desert Red makes it. I'm fine with that. If Carolina,
I am too.
The Mid-Atlantic,
I'm
Forest
rooting for
Cats
the
make it. I'm good with that.
I'm good with either one. I'm skeptical because I want the Equines to win. But if they win, either one of those two teams are going to destroy them in the Super Bowl. You would think.
You would think. But you
still
never
have to
know.
play the game. But
I'm not sold on Kubiak. I think really that Belichick will outcoach them.
Oh, sure.
And he'll come up with some.
And they're healthier now than they have been at the end of the year.
Yeah, and that's really who's the healthiest team right now?
Carolina.
And then you take Carolina, right?
As far as I know, they've
only lost once all year.
I know.
I mean, Arizona is really good, and I like Carson Palmer.
Right.
I would be fine. I don't like USC quarterbacks necessarily because they're glamour boys and they underperform all the way back to like Jimmy Jones.
I would be fine with
Carson
either one.
Palmer's a player, and I'd be happy to see him get a ring.
Me too.
Cam Newton, I'd be happy to see him get a ring.
I would love to see him get one.
As far as the Yankee bastions go, I hope they die.
I was working Monday night, and one of the guys said, he goes, well, Cam Newton would be the first black quarterback to ever win the Super Bowl. And I said, no, Doug Williams won the Super Bowl with the Redskins. And there were two other guys sitting over there, and the one guy was probably, like 26 years old or something, and the other guy was about 35, 40 years old.
All right.
He goes, no, he looked up on his phone. He goes, Doug Williams with the Redskins, and the younger kid goes, I don't even know who Doug Williams is. I said, man, I'm getting old. But
yeah, I don't know. It's past your bedtime.
That was back in the day when the reporter asked Doug Williams, "Hey, how long have you been a black quarterback in the NFL?"
Oh, right, yeah.
Possibly one of the dumbest questions ever asked.
It gets quoted a lot on like media day.
Yeah.
How long have you been a black quarterback? I don't know. That one didn't come out too well.
No.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week. I'm going to try to get Jeff Smith on the show if he can fit us in his busy schedule and his dart league. I think he plays league on Wednesday nights. And we'll see what else we have.
Would you like to be in a league against that guy?
I'd be fun. I've beaten him.
Yeah.
I think I'm 1-2 against him.
Okay.
No, I beat him in Portland, Maine. That was a long day. Anyway, thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll talk to everybody next week. Thanks, everybody in the chat room, and safe travels if you're going to Vegas. And we'll be back next week. Bye-bye.